Gaze is a Warframe augment mod for Atlas's ability Petrify, and Petrify can be put on any Warframe in the game through the helminth system. Seems pretty OP, right? Extra loot on any frame with high ability strength? Well, what if I told you that Gaze is actually lying to you? In a video by a fellow Warframe creator called Zachmo, he stated the following.
Our last run with a 400% power strength or 100% drop chance Atlas got 32 Oricon cells. So if Gaze truly isn't limited to a 100% drop chance max, then we should be seeing something like 45 Oricon cells and... oh. I'm not crazy here, right? This looks almost exactly like a 50% increase in loot from a 50% increase in power strength. Hey guys, Zachmo from the future here. I just wanted to hold true to the scientific method and, reiterate that one mission and its ensuing results don't necessarily prove that Gaze's power scaling is uncapped, because, after all, RNG is random. It's just, I feel like the appropriate thing to say is that the results just highly support my original hypothesis. Okay, thanks, bye. Absolutely proved beyond a reasonable doubt, absolutely confirmed that Gaze's power scaling is uncapped, and I'm objectively correct about everything forever, and also me from the future is a loser.
While Zach points out that his one mission certainly doesn't prove that Gaze is uncapped, he still proceeds to roll with it. And since everyone is slowly losing their critical thinking skills due to prolonged slop exposure, this is of course immediately taken as a fact by the community, and people won't follow it up by testing it for themselves. This ultimately helped spread misinformation amongst the community, thinking that Gaze scaled past 100% and is uncapped. Also, when you look into this topic, you will find that the only places it is discussed is a couple of Reddit threads where defenders of Gaze being uncapped will have the general "trust me bro" argument. The only roundabout way you could find out about Gaze being capped is by using this little calculator tool on the Warframe wiki, where you can put an ability strength value above 400%, and you can see that the drop chance does not go past 100%. Now, around the same time of this video from Zach, I did my own loot testing. This did, in fact, suggest that Gaze did not scale past 100%. Of course, trying to be the helpful tenno I am, I tried notifying Zach in the comments, which as expected got zero attention or may have even been shadow banned. I have no clue. Nevertheless, as I'm planning to update my loot build guide to a newer version since the release of the Retriever mods, I felt like I had to revisit Gaze as I wanted to once and for all prove that Gaze does not scale past 100%. In any scientific experiment, you always try to control your variables. In Warframe loot testing, these variables can be, for instance, the tile set you load, the enemy spawn rate, which is controlled by your rendered frame rate, your loadout, and your buffs. If you want to see how FPS actually affects a bunch of in-game mechanics, I highly suggest you check out this video from Ifvta that he has made on this topic, which I will link in the description. Now, in my previous experiment testing Gaze, I tested in a survival mission where I would log the loot and the kills I made to estimate a resource amount per kill. However, due to the tileset variability, enemy spawn rates, enemy pathing, and much more, I am not fully convinced by my own data, even though it still showed that drop rates wouldn't increase past 100% drop chance on Gaze. The setup I used back then was rather innovative, using Jade to cross the 400% ability strength threshold of Gaze on command. I did this by using her second ability that is able to increase your ability strength while in a mission. For the new experiment, I chose the same setup, and I made sure to mod her as close to the 400% strength threshold on Gaze that I could get, which was 399%. Then, to control for both the tile set, enemies killed, and enemy spawns, I, instead of testing in survival, went to test on a defense mission, as this would mean that the amount of enemies spawned as well as the tile set would always be the same. In the end, I chose to test on Hydron, Setna, in Steel Path, with both a resource drop chance and resource booster active. I then used 4 different ways to test whether loot was increasing past 100% drop chance on Gaze. First, I made sure to have my control, where I did not use Gaze at all. This would be my baseline loot. I then used Gaze without activating the ability strength buff from Jade, which should theoretically increase my loot by 99% from the baseline value due to me having 399% ability strength. Then I did use the ability strength buff in combination with Gaze for a 124% drop chance, which should mean that again, theoretically, I should see my loot increase by 25% compared to the 99% drop chance. And then, finally, for the nail in the coffin test, I teamed up with one of my YouTube members who was happy to help me test with his Nidus. And why Nidus, you may ask? Well, mainly because Nidus is able to give a multiplicative increase to your modded ability strength by using his parasitic link. Meaning that I was sitting at a leisurely 304% extra drop chance from Orgaze. We then made sure that I was the only one killing enemies, and as an interesting side note, we also found that even with 2 players, the amount of enemies spawned in a defense mission, at least the one on Hydron, remained the same at around 190 enemies per 3 waves. And yes, I said around 190 enemies, as sometimes the Kavad Grenier Lady likes to spawn extra Kavads that count as enemies. In any case, even if I did get 3 to 5 kills less by playing in a duo, the 304% compared to the 99, which is a 205% or roughly 3 times increase in loot, should easily show up and be significant. But was it? Before I jump into the results, I want to explain which things I logged and which things I ultimately decided to exclude from the analysis. First, we are mainly looking at resources, as Orgaze functions as a drop chance increase for resources only. Yes, mod drops, endo drops, and credit drops are not increased by drop chances like Orgaze. Then, for the resources that you can get in Hydron, we have alloy plate, rubido, salvage, and detonite ampules. In the end, I decided to exclude detonite ampules from the final analysis for the following reason. Detonite ampules are classified as uncommon drops, which means that you will have more variability in drops run to run. Besides this, detonite ampules drop in low amounts, making sample size small and thus harder to reach statistical power with a limited number of experimental repeats. As such, I only chose to include alloy plate, rubido, and salvage, as these had high sample sizes. Finally, I grouped them together as a total resource variable that I would compare between the 0%, 99%, 124%, and 304% extra drop chance from Orgaze. I felt like grouping them was appropriate, as the increase in loot should be seen across these 3 resources, and it wouldn't make sense if only one of them would see a higher value. In the end, after 5 experimental repeats for each of the drop chance scenarios, I found that there is no statistically significant difference in the amount of drops that you get when Orgaze is higher than 100% showing in its tooltip. However, there was a significant increase when you went from the baseline loot to the 99% drop chance. This, hopefully, once and for all, proves that Orgaze does not scale past 100%. Now, what does this mean for any build that you already had? Well, probably you can forgo a couple of ability strength mods and arcanes, as the real target you want to hit is just that 400% ability strength. This also means that frames that can get to this 400% easily are great to put Orgaze on. For instance, Jade, as I've used in this video, but also Kome with a bunch of her decrees, or Protea with her passive giving you 100% extra ability strength. Anyhow, I hope that now at the end of the video I have shown to you that Orgaze is not uncapped, and it is indeed capped at 100%, and yes, it can still provide a significant boost in resources when you are using it. Just make sure that you keep to that 400% golden standard when you are min-maxing your loot goblin builds. If you enjoy this type of content, which takes quite a bit of time to produce, please consider becoming a member of the channel to support accurate, tested Warframe content that tries to go in depth. I have, and forever will have, only one single tier for a single $1 a month, which gives you access to the members-only Discord chat, data sheets from testing, code, and the ability to help out with testing yourself. With that, I want to thank you for watching, don't let your brain sloppify, stay inquisitive, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye. Finally, a thank you to all YouTube members. For now, we have Nike418, Tommel, Jamari Coleman, Mega Ninja, Dwong Nguyen Tai, Stud6Ben1Y, Pinter Aaron, Furkan Chebechi, Vixen Sage, Blob, Ismael Pereira, Benjamin Cooper, Nocent Linux Gaming, Jalen Saunders, Ouija, Patrick Onuoa Jr., Davey, Siester MR, Berke Yavuz Argun, and Deadly Dion. Thank you ever so much.